Hey guitar enthusiasts, I have an amazing finger picking song that's gonna teach you techniques to play songs like Blackbird or Yesterday by the Beatles. We're gonna go through it step by step, so let's get started. So this song is in the classical domain, and I picked this song because that means it's not under copyright law, which means I can give you the tab and the PDF to print out. So if you haven't grabbed the course workbook that goes with this finger picking series, scroll down to the description below and click on the link where you can pop in your email and I'll give you a nice PDF with the tab to print out for this song and all of the other exercises that go in this series. Now, before we get into the actual tablature, let's talk about the chord structures we're going to be using. Now, if you have gone through this entire series, you heard me mention earlier that sometimes we don't play an entire chord. Like say we were playing a G chord, we might only need the top string. Or if we're playing a C chord, we might only need this bottom string. So a lot of times in finger picking, what happens is you may not always play a full chord. So I want to go over some of the chord structures we're going to be using for this song. Now, we will be using a modification of a G chord. So you're going to be using your second finger on the top string here. So it's just like playing a G chord. We're just really picking out that bass note. Next, we're going to be kind of playing somewhat of like an A minor 7 chord, but the only finger we're really going to be using is the first finger on the first fret of that second string. So it kind of looks like a C chord without any of the other fingers. Another chord iteration we'll be using, kind of like that F major 7 chord that we learned earlier in the series, except we're not going to be using the third finger, okay? So it's just the first and second fingers on the first fret of the B string and then the second fret of the G string. And one of the last chord iterations we're going to be using is this G/B chord. It's a very common chord that shows up in finger picking. It's going to be, sometimes I will use my third finger or my fourth finger, depending on where I'm coming from. I will let you know when we play through, but it'll be the third finger on the third fret of the B string and the first finger on the second fret of the A string. So this song has two really amazing finger picking techniques that I want you guys to learn. But before we go through it step by step, I just want to play through it really quickly for you so you can see what we're going to be doing. So why did I choose this song? Those first 3 chords, this is what we're doing. And what is that reminiscent of? It's reminiscent of Blackbird. That's why I chose this song. I mean, there's lots of songs that you can play with these skills, but that's one that everyone asks me about. Lauren, can you do Blackbird? So this will help you with playing a song like Blackbird. So let's start off with what we're doing. This is a very popular picking technique, as you can hear from Blackbird, where you do a pluck and then you pick a note right after it. So what we're doing is we're taking that G chord, but just that top string, that top bass note, and we're playing the open B string. Okay, and we're alternating between the open B string and the open G string. So we're going to do that twice. It's going to be, okay, so we're doing that for half a measure, and then the next half of the measure, we're just moving our first finger down to the first fret of the B string. We've now moved the thumb down to the 5th string, and we're doing the same thing on those treble notes, okay? Okay, so if we play those together, we've got very beautiful sound. One more time, let's do that again. Okay, now we're moving to our third chord, which was kind of like G/B chord here. And we are doing the same thing we just did. We're 5th string for the bass note and then alternating between those treble notes. And we're going to do that pluck, note, pluck, note, pluck. Okay, that's how this measure is going to start. So it's going to be. And then at the very end, we have 2 single notes we're going to play. We're going to play the open E string, and then I would recommend playing the 2nd fret with your 2nd finger on that high E string. All right, so that measure is going to be. Okay, so if we just put what we have together, just those two so far, this is what we've got. Okay, now the reason I told you to put the 2nd finger here is because now you're just going to put the 3rd finger down. Boop! It's right in place for this next chord, all right? So we're almost doing an inversion of what we did before, this G/B chord, except we're moving, everything's down 1 string. And I don't even know what you would call this chord, but we'll just call it this chord here. All right, so it's the 3rd finger and the 2nd finger again. Okay, so same shape. And then we're doing something similar but different. We're doing pluck 1, okay? So we're using the I finger. So it's going to be pluck, I, and then we're going to move back to the 2nd fret on that bottom E string to our 2nd finger, open D string now, pluck 1, pluck 1. Okay, so that measure is. Very beautiful sound. That's another reason why I chose. It's just a very, very beautiful song. So let's try that one more time, okay, from the 1st chord. Pluck, I, pluck, I, pluck, I, pluck, I. Okay, and then we have another pluck, one more measure of plucking before we move to a different technique. Let's go into that next measure. We're just using the top note of a C chord right here, the C note on this 5th string. And the other strings are going to be open. So it'd be like playing a C chord, but we're only playing the open strings of that C chord. And this is going to be the thumb on the 5th string, and we're going to be using the A finger on the high E string. And then we're going to be alternating between A and I on the bottom string. So it's going to be. And then we end on G/B. All right, so that last measure is. Okay, so you can see in the finger picking series, remember when we did the pluck, I had you pluck all different kinds of strings. Remember that? This is why, so that when you get to a song like this, you can use the pluck and change around to different thumb and finger patterns without worrying too much. So let's do the first 4 measures, because the first 4 measures have this pluck pattern, and then we're going to move into a slightly different technique with a walk down. Another reason I chose this, has a great walk down. All right, here we go. So we're starting from the top, all right? We've got 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. That is the first section, the first 4 measures. Now the last 4 measures, we're going to be doing something different. And this is something that shows up very commonly, let's say like a song like Yesterday. You know, you'd play a chord, let's take a C chord, and you're basically playing the thumb as a bass note, and then the I and the M finger as the treble notes. It's a very, very common pattern you hear in finger picking. So it's basically bass, pluck, bass, pluck, bass, pluck. And the pluck is the 2 treble notes at the same time. It's a pretty cool technique. Shows up in lots of songs. Here, we're doing it in the opposite direction. We're going treble and bass first, but it's still the same concept. So we're going to take the bottom half of that F major 7 chord, and we're going to go treble. So we're playing the 1st and 2nd fingers at the same time, and then the open D string. So it's. So do that 3 times. 1 and 2 and 3 and then open E string, and then 3rd finger on the B string at the 3rd fret. Okay, so that whole line is. Okay, and then we do a very similar thing, except we don't have to play any chords. It's all open strings, and we're going to do the same strings, pluck the treble notes, and then the bass. So we got. Okay, and then the last 2 notes on this one is 3, 2. All right, so let me do that one again. So it's just open strings. 3, 2. So let's put those 2 measures together, and then we're going to play through our walk down. All right, so here we go. First chord, 1st and 2nd fingers in place, ready to go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and. All right, now this is the last couple measures where we get our walk down. This is a very cool movable walk down, and it's great because you're going to practice moving to a lot of finger positions here. So what I recommend is starting on that C chord position, just the third finger down, and this bass line is going to go 3, 2, open, and then 3 on the top string. So it's a C, B, A, G. That's our walk down. One more time. C, B, A, G. Think of a song like Heart of Gold. Bum, 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 bum. That's the walk down. Bum, 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 bum. Very, very common walk down. Now we're going to be adding notes in between each of those bass notes. So the bass notes are 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to be putting treble notes on the and. So it's going to be, I'll show you exactly what we're going to do, but listen to it first. So it's going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I'm going to do it again. We're going to go to the close-up. I really want you to watch my fretting hands, watch my finger movements, and then we're going to talk about it. So we got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so did you see how my fingers were moving as I was playing the notes? So we're starting with the third finger on that 5th string, and then we have an open E string that we're hitting with the A finger. So it's going to be P, A, and then we're going to go to PM. This finger is going to move down. Okay, so now we're on the 2nd fret of that A string. And then when I go to play that 3rd fret on the B string, I'm going to use my pinky. So I've gone 3, open, 2, 3rd fret. Okay, watch that again. Okay, so I didn't have to have this whole chord in place as I was playing that walk down. By playing this bass note, it gave me extra time to put that pinky down. Okay, very, very important. All right, so far we've done. And now we're going to have an open A string. And then 1st finger comes down to the C note on this B string, 1st fret. And then 3rd finger up to the G note. And then open B string. So on the bottom strings, you're going open E, then you're going 3, 1, open. And on the top strings, you're going 3, 2, open, 3. So if we put them together, it's going to be. Do it again. Ready? And. One more time. Ready? And. The very last measure of this song, we're plucking the D string in the B string together, open, and then we have this little walk up. 1, 2, 3, and then D and G strings together with your 2nd finger on the 2nd fret. So let's do that again. So we have the pluck, and then 1, 2, 3, and there I use the 1st finger or 2nd finger, whichever comes into play. I'm not going to get into really strict classical technique here, because usually in classical technique, on these strings, whenever you play different notes, you would do, you would use a different finger. If you find yourself using the same finger, it's okay for now. I just want you to get in the habit of getting some good finger picking technique under your belt. Now, if you enjoyed this finger picking series and are looking for more different types of finger picking patterns and exercises to work on, then I highly recommend you go check out my Finger Picking 101 course, where I'll be showing you over 20 different finger picking patterns and exercises that you can use for the songs you know and love. So scroll down to the link in the description below and make sure to grab my Finger Picking 101 course.